Before Heather can return home to her apartment in Silent Hill 3, she must navigate the maze-like streets of her town, moving from the mall she first encountered the otherworld in, to a subway, an underpass, and a construction site, all of which are merely halfway points between Heather and the next major level. But these transitory places are as important as the major levels of the game in revealing the themes of Silent Hill 3 and the nightmarish power of Silent Hill. Leaving the mall brings Heather to the Hazel Street station. The name refers to a genus of trees and shrubs who produce hazelnuts, as well as the term referring to an eye color. The nut may be a purposeful reference. Not only is hazel, like the name Heather, a reference to a plant that is common in the Western world, but this subway also requires the player to locate and crack a nut, the nut barring the gate to Bergen Street. Bergen Street is a reference as well, being the same name as a subway in the film Jacob's Ladder, an inspiration for the series and Ito Masahiro's favorite film. The entire subway location, in fact, is likely inspired by the inclusion of a subway in the film, and the player's actions mirror those of Jacob. He enters the subway and finds Bergen Street locked off, but eventually makes his way onto the subway car, where he sees strange, impossible things, before finally departing and going home. While navigating the subway, there is an optional event that the player can trigger by reading 2 notes. One is an occult magazine, similar to the kind that were popular in Japan for decades, which describes the ghosts which are created from those who take their own lives. These ghosts have lost their human senses and memories, only capable of replaying the moments of their deaths, and can even possess humans, whom they begrudge their lives. It ends with an ominous warning. You should be careful when approaching such locations, if you don't want it to happen to you. The second note is a newspaper describing the apparent suicide of a man in the same subway, who fell onto the tracks and was decapitated by the train heading towards St. Renata College. Renata is the feminine for Renatus, the name of a Catholic saint. He was actually 2 saints, 2 Catholic priests with the same name, whose identities and associated legends became one over time. One of these priests was associated with the tragic death of a young boy. Saint Renatus left home out of guilt and was later convinced to return, and when the saint prayed at the child's grave, the child was reborn, and hence the boy was named René, the French for Renatus, both words meaning born again. The saint is not only 2 people in one, but he is also associated with dying and being reborn, and the name in the newspaper being changed to the feminine makes it starkly clear this is a reference to Heather. Should Heather read both articles, when the player approaches the subway tracks, a cutscene will play presenting them with a vision of Heather from behind, watching as an invisible figure pushes the character onto the tracks. If they aren't quick to climb back up out of the way, Heather will die. What was mentioned in the article becomes real, and it isn't the last time such a thing will happen. When the train finally arrives, Heather boards it to find only monsters awaiting her. When she departs, she's still not home. She must first navigate the underpass, the sewer system that helps her bypass the blockades cutting off the city streets. There are a few offices in the area for employees of the city, and exploring them reveals that something terrible has happened here only recently. A note found in the office near the end of the level reveals there's a monster in the water, written by one of the workers. It reveals that 2 others have already died due to this creature. The man writing says he never should have doubted the old urban legend about alligators in the sewers. The note warns Heather that something is waiting ahead to take her life, and the player is meant to find the hairdryer and use it to shock the creature to death. The monster is revealed to be a long tentacle which unravels when it dies. It may be related to the slurper creatures, which appear for the first time in the sewers. They don't attack Heather yet. One of them appears beneath the bridge leading to the monster, and then disappears after the player passes through. The close appearance might mean the monsters are similar, and they do seem to have similar themes. The long tentacle, existing underwater, resembles an umbilical cord in amniotic fluid, and the slurper, a creature with a long pig-like nose that walks on 4 legs, is similar to a Japanese demon called the Kekai or Sankai. They are monsters created from childbirth, resembling monkeys covered in blood and amniotic fluid. During childbirth, this monster may be born instead of a human, and if it escapes capture, it will burrow under the house and move beneath the floorboards before coming up out of the floor and into their own mother, devouring her. The physical movements of the slurper and their close proximity to the floor bring the Kekai to mind. The appearance of the sewer monster and the appearance of the subway ghost both reveal something of interest in how Silent Hill works, how its powers manifest. Both of them are examples of how belief creates reality in Silent Hill. In the subway, Heather is in no danger at all if she does not read both the newspaper and the magazine. The newspaper tells her the subway is a place where someone died. The magazine tells her that places of death and suicide can be dangerous. These two thoughts become a belief, the potential for such a thing to be real, because she's already seen such impossible things already. Half believing it, Heather enters the subway and finds herself attacked by the manifestation of her own fear. In the underpass, the note from the employee reveals that 2 others died to the monster first, and that the writer did not previously believe in any urban myths about monsters in the sewers, implying that his co-workers did believe, and were thus attacked by what they conceived to be true. Having seen his friends die, the 3rd man comes to believe as well and is subsequently killed. Their belief in an urban myth, in a creature in the sewers, creates the creature. A third possible example of this idea becomes present in a second playthrough. After the creature is dead, Heather can throw her lead pipe in the water to summon the unfortunately named Sewer Fairy, who presents the player with a gold and silver pipe. If the player responds to her questions honestly, they are rewarded with both items. This short event is a reference to an old folktale, told in various forms in countries around the world, including a version in Aesop's Fables called The Honest Woodcutter. Once again, a well-known myth or story becomes real, possibly because Heather had heard of it and had it in mind when she threw her weapon into the water. A final possible reference to a story made real is in the last of the transitory levels, the construction site, a short level that connects the underpass to the hilltop center. While exploring, Heather can find a half-buried body in a wall, revealed by hitting the wall with her weapon. All that's visible are the lower legs of a corpse. Examining it, Heather references Edgar Allan Poe's The Black Cat, the story of a man who murders his wife and buries her body in a wall. Is it merely a similar situation that reminds Heather of the story? Or did knowing of the story and remembering it bring it into the real world? For all that Silent Hill 3 is often maligned for how little of the game is actually in the town, it reveals a lot about how the town's power actually works, and the strange ways that it brings dreams and nightmares into reality. Trauma is a hell of a thing. It warps us as much as it molds us. Its blood and black and needle scratch screeches at 3 a.m. when the thumping in your ears wraps us tight and suffocates us. And it never, ever goes away. This Story Doesn't End the Way We Want All the Time by Anton Kenker. 73 poems of trauma, terror, and the fight to win back control of the self, wrapped in cracked scabs and pus. Available in ebook and paperback at thedragonsroost.biz or through Amazon, with an introduction written by yours truly. Thanks for listening to this week's Silent Hill Symbolism. If you like my work and would like to support it, please consider becoming a member through YouTube or Patreon. You can find more episodes on the YouTube channel, or you can read my books, available on my Ko-fi page. All of my ebooks are now going to be available for free, but you can also purchase them as hardback, paperback, or audiobooks. Thanks for listening. I'll see you all next time.